Ooh, y'all. Beer Whisperer still struggling with the voice thing, so bear with me. If you notice, so I'm joined by Jeff Lyons and Rooster, but I'm going to give a little bit longer intro than usual so you all know what's going on here. If you see I'm drinking coffee, which is not something you usually see the Beer Whisperer at the pub. I don't know if you guys can read that mug or not. It's College of the Ozarks, Hard Work U. It's here. Somewhere between Branson and Hollister, Missouri. So here's the story. I'm going to do this as brief as possible, but my wife and I both got some troubling news at work, and I'm not going to go into details, but it's, things are kind of uncertain. And we both happen to have today off. Today's in the 60s. Tomorrow's going to be in the 60s here, and gas was about $1.33. So I filled the tank, and we decided we're going to go for a drive with no particular plan today. So we drove around through Ava, Missouri, into a place called Rockbridge, which is about an hour and a half from our house, which has a trout farm, hatchery, restaurant, and they're supposed to have a gristmill bar. Unfortunately, the gristmill bar doesn't open until April, so I was kind of bummed about that because we were planning on staying there tonight because they've got a lodge and stuff. So I said, okay, well, we'll keep driving. So then we drove down into Gassville, Arkansas, and there's this place called Nema's Pizza, and I took some pictures. I'll put in a video later. But oh my gosh, we actually didn't have all things, but they've won awards. They've won awards internationally for their pizza. If you look them up on the internet, Nema's Pizza in Gassville, Missouri, they've won international awards. But anyway, my wife had the vegetable lasagna, and it's made there homemade. The sauce is homemade. Everything is homemade there. And I had the Italian sausage sandwich, and they make their own sausage and spice their own sausage there. So I mean, it just was just fantastic. So we hadn't decided when we left the house where we were going to stay, so we just kept driving, and we ended up in Hollister, Missouri, and there's a place called the Old English Inn, and next to it is the Black Horse Pub. I said, well, that'd be a neat place to stay. We'll stay there, and I'll go down, I'll do the video at the pub. Well, they don't open until next weekend. So I was kind of bummed out. I said, okay, now what are we going to do? So we start walking back to the car, and there's this lady of a salon. They're just closing up the salon, and she asked what we're doing, and we tell her the story, and she says, you can go into Branson if you want. They've always got plenty of rooms, but if you check out College of the Ozarks, they have a hospitality program, and I think they have some rooms there. So we came here and checked it out. I didn't know actually at the time, but there is no alcohol allowed in the room, which is why I'm drinking coffee, because it is a university. But this room is just freaking amazing. Our experience here has just been fantastic. I took some pictures, and I'll put them on the internet later. But oh my gosh, my wife and I split a 10-ounce prime rib dinner earlier. Oh, it's amazing. But this room, I took pictures of the room. I'll put it in this room. Is just fantastic. I'm not bummed that I can't have a drink. I am bummed that I may have to do other videos just having coffee. The room is so fantastic. I got a balcony outside that's just amazing. So anyway, I've rambled longer than I wanted to, so I'm going to introduce the folks that are joining me for this session. Jeff, I know you popped a beer just before we went on the air, so Jeff, tell us what you're drinking.
Well, at the moment I'm drinking the Red Hook ESB, and they put it out about once a year, about this time of year. English special bitter, and it's put out by this is brewed at the Portsmouth, New Hampshire brewery, although they do have a brewery in Washington, of course. That's where their original brewery is. But Red Hook does brew beers in New Hampshire, and I kind of like drinking their beers when I get my hands on them. And this is actually kind of a decent ESB. It's not what I would say as traditional as some of them you might have. It has a lot of the characteristics. It's got the bitterness at the end. It does have this kind of orange amber color to it. It did have a bigger head earlier, but it settled down a bit. But it's kind of sweet, kind of toasty, kind of biscuity. But it's really an enjoyable beer, and so whenever it comes out at this time of year, I usually try and pick a few of them up just to have them every now and then. I've had it many times over the years. I wouldn't put it on my top 10 list so much, but it's a beer I enjoy. One of those go-to beers you try that you kind of like, you want to put you in the right mood. It's kind of like a beer just to have something that that's not, it's pretty standard. It's pretty basic. It's got a little bit of body. It's got some boldness to it. but it'll bit of nice bitterness to it. But it's not something that you might want to really go out of your way for. But since I can get it at this time of year, I try to pick it up from time to time just to kind of have it around the house. It's one of those go-to beers. Like I'm a big fan of Shipyard Old Thumper, and a few of the Smutty Nose beers are the beers I keep in my fridge. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
The ESB is their flagship, and I remember having that when I first moved to Bellingham, Washington, in 1987. Of course, but there wasn't a whole lot of craft available back then, and we didn't even call it craft back then. But I remember first having that beer, thinking, "Wow, it was fantastic." So, Red, thanks for joining us. What are you drinking tonight, my friend?
Well, Tom, hello, Jeff. Nice to see you again.
You Red?
I went a little different route today. I decided to do a little experiment here. I'm doing one bourbon, one swill, one beer. I've got myself.
That sounds intriguing. I need to hear that story.
I've got myself some Knob Creek Kentucky straight bourbon.
That's an excellent. I like that maple. I like the maple beer version of that. Tom well knows I love that. The maple version of that Knob Creek. I don't know if yours is yours the maple version or just.
This is not the maple. This is just the Kentucky straight bourbon. This is the small batch, aged 9 years, 100 proof.
100
this
proof,
is
yeah, bourbon's 100. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so this is the Knob Creek that we're used to getting the standard, and this is one of the very first small batch bourbons, and this is an outstanding bourbon.
Yes, it is.
So I'll get into that in a minute. Then I've got for my swill, I have a 24-ounce can of Steel Reserve 211, which is 8.1% alcohol by volume.
Wow.
I think I've had this monstrosity once or twice in the past. So I've got that open, and I haven't tasted it yet, but I will in a moment. And for my beer, I have a beer from the Strange Ways Brewing Company of Richmond, Virginia, and it is called their Freeze Ray Eisbock. And that is an Eisbock beer, which is a German beer style.
Mm-hmm. I love an
Eisbock. It is 10.4% alcohol by volume and 29 IBUs. And the method they use to make an Eisbock, it's a double bock, but what they do is they while it's conditioning, they freeze. They bring the temperature down to below freezing, so it freezes, and they remove the ice from the tanks, and it concentrates the beer, and it makes it much more intense, and brings up the alcohol by volume because the water is actually removed. That is a very old German beer style. Aventinus does a wheat Eisbock beer. There are a number of Eisbock beers in Germany. Kumbacher is a very
that's a good one. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Eisbock style, and I'm sure Red will want to throw something at me after I say this, is that a lot of the ice beers that are out there these days are kind of based in some sense on that style. Natural ice, and I was drinking a Genesee ice earlier, and those are different, but I think the general premise for the way those beers are brewed is similar to the Eisbock style.
Well, I would agree with you, Jeff, that the premise is there, but the method is totally different. I don't think they freeze those beers. I think those beers are brewed to a specific gravity, and that's it. This beer is actually a double bock. It's brewed as a double bock, and it's actually frozen in the conditioning tanks, and the ice is removed, and the concentrated beer that's left is the Eisbock, and it's bottled up here. So they probably started out with a double bock that was at about 8% alcohol by volume, and it's been condensed, and the alcohol by volume now in this particular beer is 10.24. So this is a pretty hefty beer, and it's perfect for this time of year. The Mid-Atlantic just got pounded with a major blizzard, one of the worst blizzards we've ever had. It's as bad as the blizzard of '78. I remember when I was living in New England as a boy. So we had in my area 4 feet of snow. So this is a perfect beer for that type of weather. So I've got myself the Eisbock, I've got myself the bourbon, and I've got myself the swill. So
Red, let me ask you a question then. You got an 8% swill, you got a 10% Eisbock, and you got a 100 proof bourbon. Are you trying to tell us something?
He's trying to tell us he's getting drunk.
Well, I'm trying to tell you I'm in the house for the night and I'm not making any plans. Let me
There
say
you
that.
go. So can you guys notice my backdrop tonight? See, I still have some kind of fire, but it's not as big as the one I usually have. I tried to purchase so you can see the fireplace in the room here.
Is that
Yeah,
a real
it's a real
fireplace?
fireplace.
It is a real. This is a real fire today, guys.
I didn't know if it was one of those electric type fires or something.
Oh, it's real fires, Tom. You got wood logs in there, right?
No, it's not. It's a.
Well, ice. When getting back to what Red was just talking about with
It's a
the
gas
ice
fire, but it's real flames. It's not a TV fire.
Okay. Well, they throw out some good heat. I have a gas fireplace in my house. It's great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed those before. I don't own one, but I've been in some hotels where they have those. They're kind of nice. I have an actual wood stove in my cellar, which I fire up from time to time. Getting back to that ice block that Red was talking about, I think I've actually had that Adventist one. I know I've had some traditional European ice box. I just can't recall which one, but I think it was the Adventist, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but the Adventist, the one you're having, Red.
It's Aventinus is a little different. The Aventinus is actually a wheat ice bock beer, so that's a little different. But Kuhnbacher Reichelbrau ice bock is one that we can get fairly easily on the market, and that is an ice bock. And then another one we get is called EKU 28, and that's another one from Germany. That is a very strong ice bock, and it's a very good malty, very hearty, very strong beer. That's just perfect to sit and relax with in very, very cold weather. So I haven't drank that one yet. I'm kind of sipping on the bourbon, and I'm trying to avoid the swill at all costs, but I'm going to take a taste of that in a minute. But Tom, I would like to ask you a question. I mean, you know your bourbons very well, and for people that are listening and really don't understand a lot about bourbons, can you explain to them what single batch bourbon is or small batch bourbon? Because Knob Creek was one of the first examples of the small batch bourbons. So I mean, I'll defer to your expertise on this. Give just a little short background on small batch bourbons.
Well, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot. I mean, other than they're made in smaller batches. Of course, you and I have talked about what constitutes bourbon before. It doesn't necessarily have to be made in Kentucky, but it must be 51% corn, and it has to be aged for a minimum of 2 years. To be honest, as far as exactly what constitutes a small batch, I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. But I do love that Knob Creek. I actually have a full bottle of it at home that I haven't popped yet.
Yeah, I don't have any.
I got a couple of the small bottle sets for Christmas, and it had one of the rye, the bourbon, and the maple, but that bourbon is just fantastic.
I did like the Knob Creek maple. I'm not quite as versed on the whiskey and Scotch as Tom is. Tom really seems to. When I watch Tom's reviews of whiskey and Scotch, I'm quite impressed because I always learn something. So I'm not quite as versed in that area, but I did really enjoy that Knob Creek whiskey maple version, which I picked up quite by accident because it was on sale a few weeks ago. Finally finished it off, and I just loved the maple character in the thing. And maybe because I'm from New Hampshire, and maple syrup and maple candies and maple everything is a real big thing, particularly at this time of the year. So I'm really looking forward to maybe trying out some other maple-based whiskeys or scotches that I can find, in my state liquor store.
What notes are you getting from that Knob Creek, Red?
Oh, well, this is just an outstanding bourbon. I mean, I'm getting in the nose lots of vanilla, lots of oak. You're getting that just, the corn that you get in pretty much every bourbon that you drink.
For 100 bourbon, do you find it very approachable?
Oh, yes, it's very, very smooth for a bourbon, and it's got a nice peppery burn, and it's got, along with the peppery burn, it's got that little bit. I know there's no cinnamon in it, but it's got almost that cinnamon type like burn to it. And of course,
Well,
you're
those,
getting the vanilla and the oak, so it's a very well done bourbon. My understanding with small batch is that every bourbon, it's not that it's not that it's in smaller batches or it's just from one or two barrels. They're taking particular barrels out of the warehouse, and
Mhm.
then that's what they're bottling it. So it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
the master distiller knows he knows his warehouse, and he knows what parts of the warehouse have the best bourbon. Bourbon ages, there's a science. I mean, it's amazing when you see these shows and you read information on bourbon and articles on bourbon, what these masters distillers do and how they know their warehouses and know certain parts of the warehouse, certain barrels will age better in certain areas. And I think with the whole small batch idea was that they took what they know are the very best of their barrels, and they blend those barrels together, and then that's what makes small batch. I know they do the single cut ones too, and the single barrel ones, where
Single
they're
barrel.
actually bottling some bourbons right out of one barrel, and that's what you're getting. So, but this one I don't think is that. I think it's a blend, and it's the
It
it's the
is.
actual master distiller picking a certain amount of barrels that he wants to call quote unquote small batch. And Knob Creek was one of the first ones to do it. And if anybody who's had it, and you guys of course have, they're doing a tremendous job. This is just a very approachable, very drinkable bourbon, and it's delicious. It's
Now, if
perfect to
I'm
just sit
correct,
and
Knob
savor.
Creek is part of Jim Beam.
Yeah, Knob Creek is Jim Beam, right?
Yeah.
Or am I mistaken?
No, it is. Well, it was before Suntory bought them out. I'm sure. I think they still are.
But yeah, Booker No was
Yeah, Booker
one of the
no.
first ones to do that, and Booker had Booker's, and Knob Creek was another one of his small batch bourbons. So the only thing I can say is anybody who wants to get into bourbons, if you go with these little nips like Jeff and Tom has talked about, and this one that I have right now is a nip as well, but I do have a bigger bottle of this. Yeah, go with the nips and experiment because bourbon is really a wonderful, wonderful spirit. If anybody likes to drink spirits and are curious about them, I would definitely suggest that they try Knob Creek.
Yeah, I've never seen the Knob Creek, at least in my area, in a nipper style. The one I bought recently was on sale. It was in a larger container. Lasted a few weeks, but I don't think I don't recall seeing it in a nipper. Because I buy a lot of those nipper bottles myself. I love really because I'm not really as versed on bourbons and scotches and whiskeys as Tom is, and it's an area that I'm trying to kind of get into more. But I have picked up a few styles that I kind of like so far on the sampling I've done. So so I'm kind of like the odd man out here when it comes to that topic. But it's an area I'd like to learn more about, and I watch a lot of Tom's reviews to
Well,
understand.
Jeff, it's just like craft beer. I mean, you just keep trying things. Red and I were talking the other day. A lot of towns are coming up with small craft or boutique distilleries. You can go on tours just like we all do for craft beer. I bet if you looked in your neck of the woods, you probably got one or two within a day's drive of you. So I mean, just visit places, just every once in a while buy a small bottle like you typically do of something different, and keep trying different brands and try to find the smaller boutique or craft or whatever you want to call them, the small distilleries, and they're out there making their own, moonshines, rums, bourbons. Again, it's just like craft beer. You just got to keep trying stuff.
Yeah, that's what I like to do, especially the nippers. When you're in New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire Liquor Commission runs all the liquor stores, and because of that, the prices are a whole lot cheaper here than they are in some of the surrounding states. We actually get a lot of people who drive up from Massachusetts or Maine or Vermont just to buy our liquor because they can buy it cheaper here, because they buy in bulk and that kind of thing, and so and actually New Hampshire, live free or die. You can go to you can stop on the interstate at a rest area and go to a liquor store. What do you think of that?
I love that. I love that. And then growing up in Rhode Island, Jeff, New Hampshire was an hour and a half away, not even. Probably if I was going 70 miles, 80 miles an hour, I could be to New Hampshire in an hour. So first stop in New Hampshire, there is a giant liquor store. So, yeah, I've stopped many, many times. I've bought liquor in New Hampshire for the great prices. But I'm glad you're here, Jeff, because I had asked Tom the last time about this, and maybe you can enlighten us a little on this too. Growing up in New England myself, Canadian whiskeys are very popular. I remember my parents growing up drinking Seagram's VO, Canadian Club, Canadian Mist. Can you give us a little history about the Canadian whiskeys in New England and what you experienced drinking in New Hampshire? Because I know for a fact my whole life I saw a lot of Canadian whiskeys.
Well, I wish I could give you, like I said, as I said earlier, this is an area I'm just kind of learning about, so I feel kind of like I'm not probably the best person to ask. But I have had Canadian Club. It's got some bite to it. I see Canadian Mist around here. Actually, I've got an old one. When I was younger, when I was a kid, and back in the 70s or 80s, my father gave me a Canadian Mist hat, which I still have. And but you do see a lot of Canadian whiskeys around here, and a lot of them are kind of the mixed version. What's the right word, Tom? When they mix, it's not mixed. Mixed is not
Blended.
You see a lot of Canadian blended Scotch and whiskeys around here, and when you go to your local liquor store, there's an Irish section, there's an American section, there's a Canadian section, and so you can find a lot of Canadian whiskeys and scotches there. I wish I could answer that question better, Red. I wish I could sound intelligent about this, but as I mentioned before, it's an area I'm just kind of getting into now. I've been doing craft beer for 30 years, so I feel fairly comfortable talking about craft beer, but when it comes to scotches and whiskeys and things like that, I'm still kind of learning. I figured out a few styles that I like, but I don't want to sound like I'm super knowledgeable of this at this point, because I'm still learning a lot of that.
Okay. Well, good enough, Jeff. Well, for me, on to the Swill. This Steel Reserve 211, I've had this in the past. I don't remember the last time I've had it, but I want to say it's been a number of years, and I don't think I probably purchased it. I might have had it because somebody gave it to me. I'm drinking it right now. It says it's extra malted barley and select hops for extra gravity, slow brewed, blah 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 blah. This beer is, it's brewed for an intended market. I think it was $1 something, I don't even know, for a 24-ounce can. It's very, very sweet on the nose. I'm getting like a harsh graininess. I'm getting some. It smells like to me like cooked corn, and it's not a pleasant smell. The body's flabby. It finishes sweet. It's a Swill. It's not a beer that's designed for anyone who wants to enjoy aromas and flavors. This is something that people who just want to knock alcohol, knock back and pour alcohol down their throat. This is what this is for. This is the cheap drunk. This is, it's cold. I've got it very cold, so I can choke it down. But I think if this got any kind of, temperature that rise, I would literally gag.
There's actually
you got to get extremely cold and drink rather fast, because once it gets warm, you're gonna get that real sickening sweet kind of thing going on, and they're just hard to get down.
I mean, it's like that whole saying that you've heard before, like in garbage in, garbage out. This is a perfect example of that. When you're using 6-row malt, which is the cheapest kind of malt, and you're using hop pellets, and you're using corn grits or corn syrup, I mean, you get what you pay for, and you don't pay much for this. And should I say maybe it's well brewed, but the quality of this it's a poor quality product.
There is actually Red, and you probably know this, and probably Tom does too. There's actually an 8% version and a 6% version.
Yeah.
I've been drinking the 8% version, which is much more. It's much more like what you were saying, hard to really kind of drink. It really it just kind of burns through your system. The 6% version is a little easier to handle. And I'm not saying it's a good beer, I promise. It's just that it does seem to be a little more palatable to me, the 6%. But that's harder to find. I know I've gotten the 6% in Vermont. Here in New Hampshire, they sell the 8% version of Steel Reserve. But there is a bit of a difference. I think the 6% version is a little more palatable than the 8% version, but they still have all those characters you were talking about, the corn and the burning, burning sort of malt sensation and hop sensation going on that just kind of burns through your system. But I think the 6% is a little more tolerable. I'm not going to say good things about the 6 or the 8. The ironic thing I find about Steel Reserve is that I have a number of friends who are craft beer fans, and for some odd reason, they might drink, a well-known, a well-brewed craft beer, but then they go after the Steel Reserve, and I'm not sure what it is about that. I mean, I've had it a few times. I drink it. It's not something I go looking for, but it just seems that I find it ironic that some of my friends who will maybe drink a nice brewed Shipyard or Smutty Nose beer, then in the next drink they'll have a Steel Reserve 8%. It's just...
Well, I don't think there's any mystery to it. I think they're just looking for something to pour down their throat. They want to get drunk. They want to get a buzz, or they want to use it as a palate cleanser. I don't know. So I have a question for you, Jeff. Now, Jeff, do you drink malt liquors? Do you drink beers like this? And if you do, what do you enjoy about them? Tell me why you drink them, and what are the redeeming qualities of malt liquors that you find? Because
I haven't found a real malt liquor I love. There are a few I will drink, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I go out of my way looking for them. I don't know what it is. I think it's simply because sometimes when I'm drinking those beers, I'm just in the mood to kind of, I'm trying to forget the day if I had a bad day or something like that. It's kind of like a get drunk beer,
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, but I guess you could probably do that with a $3 little nip of Knob Creek.
There you go.
Absolutely true. I don't mind Colt 45's high gravity for some reason. I actually had a Genesee Ice earlier today. I know I'm probably talking blasphemy here. But,
all right, well, Genesee Ice, stop there for a minute, Jeff. Tell us why you bought a Genesee Ice and what you found that was good about a Genesee Ice, please.
Well, it was $1.09 for a 24-ounce can. That was sort of the first thing. But the Genesee Ice is not quite as digging. It's not quite as burning as some of those malt liquors are. It's actually a little more tolerable. I wouldn't say I love it. I was drinking it because I was having dinner, and it seemed to go well with my dinner I had tonight. But
hey guys, let me butt in just for a second here.
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt this malt liquor conversation, but I want to show you something real quick. Here's these cookies.
Ooh, look good.
I wanted to show you that. I don't know if I could tilt this enough for you to see, but it says "Welcome" in chocolate there.
Nice.
So I want to show you something else, and I'll let you guys get back to that conversation while I pour me some milk and cookies. This is some milk. No, this is a true story. This is milk that they actually they have cows here. So this is milk that's made here at the College of the Ozarks for these rooms.
Milk and cookies and
look, I don't know if
coffee.
you can tell, but look at the consistency of that milk, man. That is not store milk right there.
Wow, Tom, I mean, you might have to close up the Beer Whisperer pub for good. Milk and cookies and coffee? Come on.
Well, I mean,
my wife was trying to say they have a creamery here, and they use the milk to make ice cream and gelato here as well. So
that's awesome.
Have I been fired as innkeeper now after having milk and cookies?
Yeah, hey, Tom, here's your walking papers. Take a fucking walk.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
Now we see it all. The beer whisperer drinks milk and cookies.
I'd rather talk about milk and cookies, but Red, I don't really have an answer for your question. I wouldn't say I love malt liquors, but usually when I drink them, it's normally because I've had one of those days, where I kind of like just need to drink something just to kind of clean,
Take the edge off. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
right.
Jeff. So you just
And,
want
and if I don't happen to have any decent craft beer in the house, you can go to any corner convenience store in my area, spend $1 or maybe $1.25, and buy yourself a 24-ounce can of Steel Reserve or Colt 45 High Gravity or in Genesee Ice or Molson XXX or something like that. And it's kind of like just to drink it to kind of like I had a bad day, and this is just my way of kind of recovering from the day. But beyond that, you're absolutely right. I wouldn't say there's any redeeming quality for malt liquors, but I don't, at the same time, I don't dislike them. I don't hate them. It's just that sometimes I'm just in the mood for one, just something to kind of, cause my head to go into a spin and just sort of drink it down just to kind of like, that's the end of the day, and I can't wait till the day is over sort of attitude. That's
Would
really,
you all like any milk notes?
Well, then,
I gotta
Jeff,
tell you,
you
the
and I
nose, the nose is very creamy, and the
Jeff-
cookie is oatmeal chocolate chip.
Jeff,
I would
you-
buy one of those cookies.
we agree that
Well,
malt
don't-
liquor is just something that you're probably drinking just to numb your senses. But I don't know. I guess if you get paint thinner cold enough, you could choke that down too. So go.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I know you're. I'm not trying. I don't want to make malt liquor sound like it's a great beer. It's just that when I drink it, it's kind of like the thing. It's like kind of like I'm just in the mood. I don't want to. I'm low on money, perhaps. I just feel like just drinking something to kind of buzz my brain or whatever, and just sit back and kind of like, well, it's just enjoy the night.
Yeah, I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. And Tom and I had a gentleman named Mike that came on last week, and he pretty much said the same thing. Tom said, said to him, he said, he had Milwaukee's best ice, and Tom said, without trying to be, condescending or anything, why do you drink a beer like that? And Mike gave the most honest answer. He said, because it was on sale. And
well, I mean,
said,
I don't want to give the impression.
You got to work. You didn't have much money.
Yeah, I don't really. I hope I'm not giving the impression we're live on YouTube at the moment, and I'm hoping that the people that watch my reviews are not like saying, "What the hell is he talking about?" But I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't want to give the impression that I'm enamored by malt liquors, but every now and then, that grainy, corny, grain alcohol thing just kind of fits the mood depending on how I'm feeling at a particular day,
Well, guys, I have a confession to make. As we were driving, when we were coming near the end of the area of Arkansas that we started in is dry. So I stopped at a liquor store to see what they had just so I had some kind of beer. They had Goose Island IPA, so I grabbed a 6-pack of that so I had something because I didn't know where we were going to land at that point. But I saw a 25-ounce can of Boxer Ice. So I picked it up. So obviously I haven't drank it today because I'm not drinking tonight. But I mean, I know what kind of beer that is. I know what it's going to be like. But curiosity got the better of me, and it was $1.25 for the 25-ounce can. So I thought, well, I'm going to try it because I've never tried the Boxer Ice.
And how was it?
Well, I haven't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you had tried it. Okay, sorry.
No, I haven't tried it. And I've never had Boxer before, and I've heard terrible things about it. But again, sometimes curiosity gets the better of me. So I said, well, hell, it's $1.25. If we get back to the hotel, I'll get it good and cold and knock it back quick. But obviously I'm not drinking tonight, so there you go. But I haven't tried it.
But generally,
but as long as we were talking about Swill, I thought I'd bring that up and be honest.
Generally, my first choices are always going to be a nice craft beer, particularly a local one. I mean, there's a lot of New Hampshire's really hopping right now with new breweries that are cropping up. I've got a new brewery about 3 blocks from my house, and I was going to get over there tonight. Didn't get a chance. They've got a new Dunkelweizen, which I'd like to try. It's only going to be available in the brewery. I didn't get over there tonight. It's a small batch, and it's a place called Oddball Brewing, and they were providing samples at the brewery, but they're not going to bottle it or anything. So I'm interested in trying that, see how that came out. But they put out a couple of they put out a nice IPA and a nice wheat so far. It's a new brewery, so. But my preference is trying to find local. I like to support my local brewery, and Red knows this more than anyone. You know, I go to White Birch Brewing in Hooksett, New Hampshire, quite a lot. I'm quite friendly with the people that work there, and I'm always looking for new beers from them. Tons of new breweries because New Hampshire changed their laws a few years ago that allow these small breweries that brew less than 2,000 barrels a year to self-distribute and to sell more beer on the premises. Makes it a lot easier for them to license their beers. So we're seeing a lot of these small breweries that are cropping up all over the state, and some of them are quite good, you know. And it's kind of a renaissance in New Hampshire for beer, I must say.
Oh God. Woo. Yeah. This Steel Reserve's warming up, and it's getting hotter and hotter to drink.
Yeah.
All I can say is I don't know how people drink this shit because this is shit beer. God, this sucks. Good thing I've got the Knob Creek to kind of wash my mouth out, and I've got the Ice Block waiting.
You got your bourbon mouthwash going on.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'd have to be on some pretty fucking hard times to drink this shit again. I'm telling you, this stuff is it's harsh. Wow, this is garbage.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I
think the 6% is a little more tolerable than the 8%, but you're right.
I know a damn fine cookie of milk if anybody gives a rat's ass.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, enough of the Steel Reserve. I'm going to crack open the Ice Block in a minute.
Ice Block.
Yeah, let me just finish some Knob Creek first to get the taste out of my mouth because all I can taste is adjunct and corn and cheap small grain.
I need to step away for a minute because I'm all out of beer at the moment.
Well, go get
Tom.
Tom.
While we get a little lull here, why don't you, I don't know, tell us more about the hotel in this program? What is the College of the Ozarks?
Well, basically, what they do here is that folks, the kids that come here, the people that come here, they're able to work off their tuition in those various jobs they have around here, and for some of these folks, they're part of their major, right? They have a hospitality program, so they have this hotel here where they can learn the hospitality industry, and they have a culinary arts program. So you got folks in the kitchen where they learn under chefs. We ate dinner down there tonight, and the server that was waiting on us, he was telling us that they do have chefs that do the teaching, but the students do almost all the cooking. They just have the chefs there to kind of, to dictate the pace and make sure everybody's doing everything the right way, but everything's done by the students. So it's like I said, my wife mentioned the milk here. They make the milk here. They have their own creamery that they use in the ice cream.
Hey, Reg, you might remember this. You and I met a couple of years ago at the Rhode Island Brewfest.
Yes.
This is the glass I got from the Rhode Island Brewfest back in 2014.
Yeah, and I dropped mine, and mine smashed to pieces.
Yeah, I'm going to pour this Flying Dog IPA into it.
Oh, now that's a nice one.
It's interesting. Maybe this happens elsewhere, but here in New Hampshire, more and more grocery stores, supermarkets, are starting to do these mix and match where you can select
mix
beers and put them into a 6-pack and different types. They usually get the ones that are better known, like Flying Dog, and they get the nationally known, well-known craft beers. But to me, it's still a pretty good deal. And so I picked up a 6-pack from the Hannaford's grocery store in Concord, New Hampshire today, and this was the Snake Dog IPA was one of them I threw into it because I hadn't had it in a couple of years, I guess. So here it is. And there you go. And it looks like, it's a nice, handsome-looking orange, big, heady beer, lots of carbonation. So, I don't know. This is a 7.1% ABV. I'm sure both of you have had this one before. I know I have.
It's been a lot of years, but I've had it.
It's just one of those. I just figured, hey, what the hell not? Haven't picked it up in a while. Figured might as well throw it into the six-pack, So there it is.
Yeah, it's a very nice beer, and Tom and I actually, the last time we were talking, I was talking about one of their beers, the tropical stout. Yeah, Flying Dog is close to me, Jeff. It's only about an hour drive to me from me. I've been to the brewery. I visited the brewery once or twice in the past. They brew excellent beers there.
Well, one day I want to get down that way just to check that. That's one of the breweries I'd like to visit. I'm only about maybe 8, maybe 9 hours from, the Maryland, Washington D.C. area, and I have a whole list of places I want to visit down there, and Flying Dog is one of those.
Yeah, it's well worth it. And I was telling Tom the last time, you have to actually schedule tours for that one, so you need to get on the list in advance and get the e-tickets because you can't just show up. That's one of the ones that you actually have to schedule a tour.
Well, this is something I've been thinking about several months down the road, so I probably have some time to schedule something if I really want to do it. I usually kind of take a week off in June.
Yeah, well, that's easy, Jeff. Best bet during the week. The tours during the week are easy to get tickets to, so shoot for going during the week. But if you do get down this way, let us know because there's a number of people in this area that you actually are familiar with through social media that would be more than willing to show you all the places to go, and there's a lot of good places to go.
Oh, why not? I want to get down and visit Tom sometime in Missouri, but I gotta have him take me to a Macadoodles.
Oh yeah, I'd love to take you there, Jeff. You'd have a great time.
What's that?
I'd love to take you out there. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to go to a Macadoodles. I love watching Tom's little on the site. Here I am at Macadoodles, and he's drinking some neat new beer that I haven't seen before, and there's people talking around him, and there's music playing, and he's sitting there talking about the beer, and I do like watching those. Those are among some of my favorite videos to watch of yours.
Yeah, I generally, when I'm anywhere on location, to be honest with you, I've done several for Macadoodles. I've done a couple from Brown Derby in my other beer store, and I love doing them when I'm at Piney River or Mother's. It's just fun to be somewhere, and I just start talking. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody will actually join me on camera, say, somebody I just met that second.
No, it's great. I mean, we have a lot of places. We have a lot of places around here that have a lot of beers on tap. It's like John from Brew Guru. He's got all those Taco Macs near him, and that's another place I'd like to visit one of them.
So hey, Red, before we end this session, I want to get some tasting notes on that ice block.
I'm sorry, Tom. I can't get to the ice block. I can't get through this Steel Reserve. It's literally.
Yeah, I thought you popped it. All right.
I couldn't pop it. I couldn't get it because I was figuring let me get the Steel Reserve and the bourbon down and get to the ice block, and I figured I could get through the Steel Reserve. But I'm not kidding you. This is literally making me feel ill. So I think we need to end it on that note. So my experiment with one bourbon, one swill, and one beer went terribly wrong.
Hey, you never know unless you try. Yeah, you know what, Red? I mean, I apologize. I should have known exactly what small batch, but I don't really pay a lot of attention. And I'm tired. But yeah, I mean, your description was exactly right. They have specific barrels that are in certain parts of the warehouse that they blend for those smaller batch bourbons. And Knob Creek is certainly a very fine one. And 100 proof, it is a very approachable bourbon.
We can all agree on that. That's for sure. So anyway, guys, it was good talking to you. I think I'll bow out.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. And cookie was great. My coffee was great. They actually grind the coffee, so it was fresh ground coffee, and I had milk straight from the cow. So, how about you, Jeff? Any party words?
No, not really. I'm just enjoying this afternoon right now.
If you can hear me now, I'm really getting that Winnie the Pooh voice going on.
No, I can hear you okay. And no, I'm doing all right. I'm just finishing off this. I don't drink beer this late at night usually, but I figured I would for the video. But
I don't usually drink milk this late at night, so we're even.
What's that?
I don't usually drink milk this late at night, so we're even.
Well, there you go. Okay. Gotcha.
All right.
Well, it's the problem. If I drink beer too late, I'll never sleep. Or
there you go.
or I'm visiting the bathroom every 3 hours.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Well, after drinking this Steel Reserve, I know I'll be visiting the bathroom. That's for certain.
Yeah, you just gonna grab a pillow and go in, Red?
All right, guys, let's call it quits.
All right,
All
catch
right.
you later. Catch you another time.
I want to thank Red and Jeff for joining me. Tonight it was just coffee, milk, and cookies for the Whisperer. For Jeff, fine beers, and for Red, Red may have to have some quality potty time after his quality beer tonight. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. This is Tom the Beer Whisperer, and we're going to end this session on that note.